Grunkle Stan, why are we here again?
To dispose of things that we don't want. So long, Mystery Shack suggestion cards.
Goodbye, creepy love letters from little Gideon. Ugh, die!
What are you doing?
Throwing stuff, dude. Everyone's doing it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pining for the Falls, the podcast where sometimes you just gotta throw stuff into a hole. That's how that goes. I'm Fire Princess Lily, and I am joined, as always, by my good friend Doc Sea Monster. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
Just fine. It's an average kind of day.
Nice, very nice. What's been going on with you since we last talked?
Not a ton of stuff. Let's see. I went to a friend's house and made soup.
Oh, very cool.
Trying to find little ways to interact with people, you know?
Right, of course. Here in the age of the apocalypse. What else has been going on?
Not much. Just a little bit of writing. Talked to my therapist today.
Cool.
Let's see.
Neat.
Still watching anime and stuff.
Watch anything neat lately?
I'm still going through my next life is villainous. That show is great.
Really good. I finished it.
Cool. I'm still working my way through the last season of JoJo. That show is still really good. I know you're not very interested in it, but part 5 of JoJo is really fun. It's 3 violent idiots, 2 actual adults, and the protagonist who's just happy to be there.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
How about you?
Mostly I've just been working. You know, that's how it goes. 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. It's graveyard shift, so it is exhausting. But I have been, keeping up with my shows and stuff. Like, I've finished Close Enough, that the new cartoon by J.G. Quintel. Really good. It was really good.
Cool.
Like I've mentioned before, it's just like the regular show. If the regular show didn't have to worry about standards and practices, where the regular show is kind of about, like 20-somethings, trying to like get on their feet sort of thing. The Close Enough is more about like 30-somethings who are not quite on their feet, but having to deal with life anyway. And stripper clowns. That happens. It is what it is. That's why we talk about this stuff, and that's why this podcast is not meant for kids. Let's see. Started reading a new manga. Already caught up on it. Of course I did. Called Yakuza Reincarnation. It's all about like a 70, 80-year-old Yakuza guy who's lived his whole life being like an honorable Yakuza. And he dies. He gets betrayed and he dies. And as he's dying, he's thinking, man, I guess this tattoo I have on my back of this goddess wasn't actually for good luck after all. And that's when the vision of that goddess appears and stabs him in the heart. And then he wakes up in the body of a 18, 20-year-old princess in a fantasy land, and his big cheat. Like, cause all the main characters have to have like a big cheat, is that he's just in a younger body, so he can fight like he used to, because he used to be like, a genius at brawling. And so now that he has a younger body that moves the way he needs it to, he's unstoppable. It's just him punching dudes like in the face, kicking them in the nuts, breaking legs, being just a Yakuza guy in like this princess's body who's been known to be like kind and demure and like relaxed, and that's just not him at all. It's really good. I love it. I love it a whole lot, and I hope it gets more chapters. It needs more chapters.
I saw you post about that on Twitter. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's it's pretty fun. Let's see what else. Caught up on got a high school, the manhwa, and oof. I gotta say, after 471 chapters, I can't believe that blank hasn't already been blanked, and blank, 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 blank. Because those are just all major spoilers, and it's just like, I can't, you would think, but okay. And I don't care what kind of backstories get told, I'm not going to have any sympathy. Thank you very much. Yeah. So there's that. On top of that, I've been watching wrestling because, of course, I've been watching wrestling. By the way, real quick, we're not going to go super into it, but fuck Joey Ryan. Fuck Joey Ryan and his hour-long victim-blaming, I did no wrong, quote-unquote, apology. Like, fuck that guy. Moving on from that already, I ate a lot of crow this week, or last week, in wrestling. Because I made a bunch of predictions, like I usually do. You know, when big shows are happening, you know, people make predictions about them. That's just how wrestling is. And I ate a lot of crow, meaning that my predictions were just wrong. They were wrong. I predicted that Nyla Rose, who announced a couple weeks ago that she was going to have a manager, I predicted that manager would be Medusa. It was not Medusa. I went all in on Medusa, but no, it ended up being Vicky Guerrero, which is fine. She's good. I can't say I wasn't disappointed, but only because I went so hard in on my own prediction, so that's my own fault. I expected Brian Cage to win the championship because it just seemed like a good time for that to happen. Did not win the championship. He got put into submission, and his manager threw in the towel for him because he wasn't going to tap out. So he still looks strong, which is good. He just lost. People think he's going to be wrestling Darby Allin next, which will be fun. I don't know how they're going to do that because both those wrestlers need a win right now. So we'll see how they manage to do that.
Yeah.
What else? No. I think that's I think that is everything. I think that's it. Everything that's been going on with me.
Wrestling Corner abridged.
Doing a podcast back to back sort of limits what I talk about on the second podcast because I already kind of talked about it all. So I always try to spread it out, but sometimes it just does not work. We talk about what's going on in wrestling this week. I don't know, I just feel like I should always have more to talk about than I do. Let's see.
What's going on at wrestling this week?
MJF and Wardlow will be in action, so that'll be neat. I don't know what they're doing, but cool. Something neat going on this week. Now, I've made mention on this podcast and the other podcast multiple times, lots of times, that AEW does not have a women's division. Well, they do, but it's not good. It's bad. All they need to do, honestly, is because people have been saying, the lack of a women's division is because of the pandemic and some of the women's wrestlers are injured, and it's that's they're underutilizing them before all that. But my solution has always been hire more women, because AEW seems to have cash to burn when a hot guy wrestler, somebody who's is a hot commodity, if he becomes a free agent, AEW is pouncing, to get that guy. But women wrestlers, there's tons of free agents. There's tons of good free agents, and they're just not signing them. why. But this week, Evilise and Diamante, who have both been on Dark programs like previously, and are both really great wrestlers, they're going to have a match on Dynamite this week. Not on Dark, on Dynamite. So that means one of them, hopefully both of them, honestly, hopefully they were both signed, but at least one of them is. And this comes like a couple weeks after Diamante posted on Twitter, like, to AEW, like, you guys just don't listen to your fans, do you? They've been asking for, more women's matches and more women. So what are you going to do about it? It's so nice that you give women like 5 minutes a week. So we'll see how that goes. They're both really good wrestlers, so here's hoping. Darby Allin is finally back in action. He either quote unquote injured himself or did injure himself at Double or Nothing, doing a crazy spot with a steel ladder and trying to like jump from onto that steel ladder onto somebody using a skateboard, and he didn't miss, but I don't think that it worked out quite the way that they expected it to. So let's see. It looks like there's going to be some fun dark matches tomorrow, including one between Diamante and Kylan King. Hikaru Shida will face Michelle Shanae. Oh, Kip Sabian's finally going to have a singles match. Poor Kip Sabian. Kip Sabian is actually a pretty talented wrestler, but he was paired up with Jimmy Havoc. And as you know, or at least some people know, especially if you listen to this podcast, there was the big speaking out movement, and Jimmy Havoc was one of those people who got called out for being an abusive person who also was sexually assaulted somebody. And so him and Kip have been a tag team, and they've been doing really well, but once all that word got out, they pulled Jimmy immediately from TV, and he went into therapy. And apparently in Florida you can't fire somebody when they're in therapy, so we'll see what happens later. But Jimmy is off TV, which basically all the momentum that Kip was having as a tag competitor basically got pushed, under the rug too. So it sucks for him. But he's going to have a singles match tomorrow, so that'll be neat. Yeah. And other than Kenny maybe becoming the Cleaner again, that's all that's going on in wrestling, really. The Cleaner is a gimmick that he did in New Japan that people really liked, and they've been sort of hinting at it for a little bit now. So we'll see how that goes. And that is wrestling, finally. Yeah.
Wrestling Corner, less abridged.
Yeah. And that's all I got. I don't think I have anything else. I'm trying to think. No. So, you want to talk about Gravity Falls?
I'd love to.
All right. This week we watched episode 14. Bottomless Pit. This is a clip show. I mean, it's a shorts show.
It's shorts. It's vignettes.
It's vignettes, yeah. Which is fine. Let's see if I'm right about this. Yeah, I was totally right about that. Nice. We'll get to it when we get to it, because let's just get into it. So we open on the Mystery Shack. There we go. And we've cut away to Stan and the twins and Zeus arriving by golf cart to a bottomless pit. Stan says, there's a lot of great pits in the world, but not quite so great as the bottomless pit. Or something quite like that. What you can see here is bottomless. They're just kind of looking in, and Zeus is like, question, is it bottomless? And he's like, kids, could you explain this to Zeus? But Dipper's like, why are we here? And Grogu says, like, throw things away, obviously, things we don't see anymore. Like these Mystery Shack suggestion cards. Mabel throws in some creepy letters from little Gideon. Zeus throws in his shoes, and Dipper's like, what are you doing, man? He's like, I'm just throwing stuff. Everybody's doing it. That's when Mabel drags in a very heavy box, locked in chains. And Dipper's like, what is that? He's like, she's like, oh, nothing. It's just my box of mysterious secrets that is in no way interesting. And then she just pushes it in. And Dipper's like, hey, Grunkle Stan, can I just point out that it is impossible for a pit to actually be bottomless? And Mabel's like, yeah, well, I guess we'll never know. And that's when a strong breeze or windstorm comes in. To which Zeus says, it's like an invisible pushing force.
I love the pushing force line.
It's a good line. But Dipper's like, come on, everybody, back to the chat. And Stan's like, but I haven't finished throwing in all these suggestions yet. And they're trying to pull him in, but he messes up. He jumps for some suggestions that blow away, and everybody holding on to him gets thrown into the pit along with him. The goat walks up and does a baa at them. It's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. We all love Waddle's wife.
Yes. So we cut to Stan, the twins, and Zeus just falling in the bottomless pit. They're screaming and screaming, and then they just they stop. They stop screaming, but they keep falling. And Zeus is like, as everybody's looking around, he's like, hey, does anybody want to scream anymore? And Dipper's like, where are we? Mabel pulls out a glow stick, and she's like, it appears we're somewhere where it looks like we're nowhere, because they're just falling into a bottomless pit. And Dipper's like, come on, we're going to land eventually. It could happen any second now. And they all, like, flinch up and wait for, like, the impact, but nothing happens. And Stan's like, hey, well, looks like we're here for the long haul. Anybody want to see some card tricks? He goes to shuffle the cards, and the cards fly up into the air, of course. And he's like, ta-da! It's really great. Zeus is like, hey, maybe we should pass the time by telling stories. And Dipper's like, oh, I got a story. How about the time Grunkle Stan got us all thrown into a bottomless pit where we'd all fall for the rest of our natural-born lives? And Zeus is like, tell me more. Like, it's really great. Mabel's like, come on, you've got to know a better story than that. And Dipper's like, fine, taking her glow stick and be like, I'll tell you a story. It's sort of like I like to call voiceover. And we get a title card that says voiceover. We cut to the front of the Mystery Shack. Zeus, Wendy, and Mabel are gathered around Waddles, and they're shouting, spin the pig, spin the pig, as Stan is just on the front porch reading the newspaper. So they spin Waddles, and Waddles lands on Grunkle Stan, and Mabel's like, hey, Grunkle Stan, have you ever kissed a pig before? And he's like, I'm not going to answer that question. But Dipper runs in, he's like, guys, I think I got bit by a snake and I need to go to the hospital, because his voice is just cracking. Grunkle Stan is just laughing, and Dipper's like, what's so funny? He's like, it's hard to focus on what you're saying with that squeaky puberty voice you got going on there. He's like, what? And Mabel's like, it's nothing to be ashamed of, Dipper. Your voice is hilarious. And he's like, my voice doesn't crack. Are you saying it cracks? And there's like, no offense, but it cracks so much we've already made a techno remix out of it. It's really, and they play a remix. It's just Dipper talking, his voice cracking, and it being remixed into kind of a beat. Wendy is even dancing to it. They get to a point where the track goes, stop it, guys! And she's like, oh, that's my favorite part. Dipper gets embarrassed and grabs the recorder and runs away. The group goes back to spinning the pig. It's really good. But he walks through town. He's like, he sighs. He's like, even my sighs sound weird. And that's when Old Man McGucket pops up. He's like, I couldn't help but hear your situation. I'm Old Man McGucket. And he spits into his hand, to shake Dipper's hand. And Dipper's like, why did you spit into your hand? He's like, I don't really know. And Dipper's like, I remember you. Your robot almost got me killed. He's like, yeah, come here, follow me into this dangerous dark alley. Then we cut to the inside of the junkyard, and there's a machine and a bunch of glowing tubes. And Old Man McGuggle's like, lately I've been tinkerizing with the voice altering tonic. On account of my horrifying voice, it's really good. As he says that, it cuts to a child, and the child runs away crying. And he's like, "You can run, but I'll still be in your nightmares." It's really good.
It's great.
Dipper takes the tonic. He's like, "Will this really fix my voice?" "Thanks." And he takes it. And Old Man McGuckin's like, "Come morning, you'll sound like a new man. If you survive." Which is really just weird. We cut to the Mystery Shack. It's the next morning. Dipper yawns. He's like walking over to a mirror. He's like, "Good morning, Dipper," but he says it in a real deep voice. He's like, "Good morning, Dipper," like that. It's like really great. And he like freaks out. He's like, I did it. I changed my voices. I have a new voice now. And he keeps like over enunciating stuff to like practice his new voice. He goes to wake up his sister. He's like, "Good morning, Mabel." Who's my favorite Mabel? Mabel wakes up and starts beating him with a golf club. She's like, "Die! What have you done with my brother? Don't worry, Dipper. I'll save you from this body-switching warlock." And Dipper's like, No, it's me. This is my voice now. I sound awesome." And he repeats "sound awesome" because, he's just enjoying his voice. And Mabel's like, "I knew boys' voices changed, but this is weird. Weird and bad." She doesn't like it. And Dipper's like, "But Mabel, this is the best thing that has ever happened to me." And just think of the prank calls. Picks up the phone, dials the number. A man picks it. He's like, "Hello?" He's like, "Hello? This is the President of the United States. And I am just calling to tell you..." He just blows raspberries into the phone. It's really great. It really pisses off the other guy on the end of the line, which is going to come back and bite Dipper pretty solidly. But he's like, "Yes, magnificent." And Mabel's like, "No, Mabel, no likey." We cut to the inside of the shop of the Mystery Shack. And Dipper's like, "How you doing, Zeus?" So Zeus immediately starts beating him with a broom. He's like, "Run, everybody, run." And Zeus is like, "What?" I'm sorry. Dipper's like, "What gives? This is my new voice. You all made fun of my old voice. I thought you liked the new one." And Zeus is like, "Hey, at least before you sounded like a real person. Now you just sound like some kind of weird commercial dude." And Dipper's like, "Fine, I'll find Stan. He'll like my new voice. You'll see. Well, I'll be right back after these messages. Goodbye." It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
But,
this a lot of good gags.
It's a lot of good gags. Dipper is walking around town looking for Grunkle Stan. He's like, "Grunkle Stan! Grunkle Stan!" Which he passes a familiar face, the bouncer of the bar that we saw in a previous episode. I forget. The wax episode. That's it. But he's like, "Wait a minute. I'd recognize that voice anywhere. You're the guy who prank called me earlier." And Dipper's like, No, I'm just a 12-year-old boy." And he's like, "You expect me to believe that, you crazy voice punk?" And Dipper's like, "No, wait." And he runs away. To which the bouncer's like, "Come on, guys. There's a prank caller on the loose. Let's get him." And everybody from the bar just rushes out to chase Dipper. We actually get a shot of a character that will appear in, I want to say, the next episode. The lifeguard from the pool episode.
I believe the next episode is the deep end, yes.
Yes. So, Dipper's running away from them, and he leaps into the junkyard where Old Man McGucket is to safety. McGucket is dancing with chickens. It's pretty great. But he's like, "McGucket, your invention was a catastrophe." And McGucket's like, "That's probably why I live in a dump." That's really good. But he just starts dancing. And Dipper's like, "My own sister didn't recognize me. I scared away crowds. I even sound ridiculous when I cry." And McGucket's like, "Well, there's your problem. I gave you the wrong rinky-majig. This one's for voiceover professionals." He's like, "I'm sure I got a better voice in here somewhere." And he's like, "Good, hurry up." And McGucket's like, "You got here just in time. Come sundown, you would have reverted back to your ridiculous old voice." And Dipper's like, "Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous, wasn't it?" He pulls out the tape recorder and presses play. And it's just, it's his voice doing the cracking, and then Mabel comes on and says, "This remix is dedicated to my brother. Dipper, your voice is one of the kind." Zeus comes on and is like, "Dude, I've never heard anything like it. Remix over." It's really good. So, Oma Nagaka pulls out another tube. This time it's full of a red liquid from green vials, which is really weird. He's like, "Here you go, here's your new voice, and it should be permanent." Zeus looks between the tape recorder and the vial. He goes to drink it, and that's when we cut back to the Mystery Shack. Dipper greets both Zeus and Mabel in his regular old voice, and they're like, "Oh, your voice is back. Yay, we love this." And Dipper's like, "My voice might not be perfect, but it's mine, and I wouldn't change it for anyone in the world. Not even for what was in this file." And Mabel's like, "So what did you do with the rest of that potion?" And he's like, "I dumped it in Stan's coffee." And that's when Gruckle Stan walks in, and he's got a new voice, which is sort of reminiscent of a black lady. And he's like, "Have any of y'all kids seen my girdle? Where's my girdle at?" He's like, "What's so funny?" As they're laughing at him, he's like, "I'm Grunkle Stan." Kids laughing at their Grunkle. And that's when we cut back to the hole. Like I said, y'all, this is a short show. That's what that means. We're gonna get 3 minor mini episodes. Well, 3.1 mini episodes. But we come back to Mabel. She's like, "I spy with my little eye something that is black." And Zeus is like, oh, everything? And Mabel's like, "Yay for Zeus!" Starts clapping. He's like, "Hey guys, who wants to pass the time by spinning? Everyone spin." And Dipper's like, "No." To which Mabel instantly spins him, starts running on him like a log. It's really good. Urkel says "Dipper's spin is funny, but I'm starting to get bored. Zeus, tell the story." Zeus is like, "Really? Okay, this story is called Zeus's Really Great Pinball Story." And Dipper's like, Dipper's just in the background screaming. And Zeus is like, is that a good title? Did that have to be puns or whatever? And we get a title card that is Zeus's Really Great Pinball Story. Is that a good title, or do they have to be puns or whatever? Zeus is playing a pinball machine called Tumbleweed Terror, and he's like, "It's been a long 4 years, dudes, but I might finally get the high score on Stan's creepy old pinball machine. If I do this, I'll go down in the pinball history on the likes of Sal, Gaff, and of course, Pooh." And Dipper's like, "I don't know, have you ever just tried tilting the machine?" And Zeus is like, "I don't know, dude. It's not against the rules." And Mabel's like, "Nuts to the rules. Tilt. But we cut to Zeus playing the game, and immediately his ball goes right through the bumpers and is discarded. A cowboy voice, a skeleton cowboy, says, "Failure, you stink." And the moment I heard this voice, I was like, "That's John DiMaggio." I'm pretty certain.
And it is.
It's John DiMaggio. I'm pretty happy that my ears can just recognize his voice. But Zeus loses his ball, and he's like, "All right, kids, are you ready?" And they start tilting the machine back and forth. And the machine's like, "Quit tilting, partner. Quit tilting, partner." And then Zeus lifts the machine, and he gets the high score via cheating. And Zeus is like, "Oh, yes, all right. This is the best moment of my life. Totally beats my other old best moment," which we cut to. He hits the eject button on a VCR, and it shoots out a slice of pizza, which Zeus eats. But the machine's like, "That ain't right. You cheated." And he was like, "Oh yeah, what are you gonna do about it? You're just a pinball game, taunt." And Dipper's like, "Guys, there's an awful lot of green lightning coming out of that game." To which Zeus is like, "No, that's the normal amount of green lightning." There's a flash, and they all wake up inside of the pinball machine. Zeus is like, 5 more minutes, and it turns out he's just beating on a bumper. He's like, "That's not a normal alarm clock." But Dipper and Mabel run over, was like, "Zeus, we're trapped in the game." And they're like, "Whoa, this is crazy." Mabel says, "Sweet Moses," and to which Zeus says, "Hush!" exclamation of wonder. They're having a great time just like looking at like the ball rolling around. Like, this is cool. Mabel's bumping back and forth between bumpers, and Zeus is like, "Oh, I never want to leave. This is great." To which the cowboy skull is like, "That can be arranged." He's like, "Welcome to Tumbling Terror Partners," and there's a bunch of lights, flashing sounds. And Zeus is like, "Hey, it's the Skeleton Cowboy. Did you zap me into the game to congratulate me on getting the high score? I beat Pooh, dude." And the guy's like, "If I recall, I warned you not to cheat, and then you did. So I try to be like a gentleman, but I am just, sick of being tilted. So now I'm going to tilt you." And Zeus is like, "Oh yeah, we'll take this." And he punches one of the, I know they're not all called bumpers. I just don't know enough about pinball machines to know what all the little whiz bangs are called.
I don't know either. I don't know what the exact things are called. Let's just say they're all bumpers.
They're all bumpers. He punches a bumper, something for your ball to bounce against to get points. And he punches it, and it immediately bounces right back into his face. He's like, "Oh, that hurt. Well, take this." And he does it again. And he's like, "I wish this was working better." And he punches it again, only for it to bounce back at him again. He's like, "Well, y'all better ready for it to get crazy, because here comes the multi-ball." And they're running around trying to just escape these giant pinballs. Well, they're regular-sized pinballs. They're just tiny. And they duck into a saloon. And the cowboy is like, "Where'd y'all go? I can't see you." There's like, "There's got to be a way we got to get out of here." As it's like, I'm trying to think, but it's so hard with that gorgeous pinball winch distracting me. We cut over to a little cardboard cutout of a dancing lady, and this is great.
Zeus is very lonely.
Zeus is very lonely. Was just like, "Okay, guys, I got it. There's a manual power switch inside the game. If I can sneak in there and turn it off, we might get out of here. But we gotta distract the cowboy guy. Are either of you good at making a scene, being a distraction, making a bunch of annoying noises and jumping up and down a lot?" And Mabel looks away to the middle ground. She's like, "My time has come." There was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Are you ready to go, Zeus?" Zeus? And we cut over to Zeus talking to the cardboard cutout of the dancing girl. He's like, "Oh, so, what are you doing later," or whatever. And Dipper immediately hits it, and he's like, "Oh, right." The pinball cowboy's like, "Come on, guys, come out." And that's when Mabel and Dipper start, jumping around on the flippers. Haha. That's what, I think everything else is actually called a bumper, and the thing you hit your ball against is called flippers. Bam.
That
I'm pretty certain. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know enough. But they're on top of these things, and Mabel's like, "Look at me. Listen to me. Look what I can do." She starts mimicking an airplane, dancing around, blowing raspberries. And the cowboy's like, "Something ain't right here." And Mabel's even shouting, "Distraction! Distraction!" as Dipper just stomps around, dancing and humming. But the cowboy's like, "Let me see where this is going." Zeus ducks into the inside of the machine through a little railway cart, and he finds the power button. He's like, "Yes, there it is." We cut back to the cowboy, who's having just a real great time. He's laughing. He's like, "Yippee, yaaaaay." He's like, "Wait, where are y'all at? Where'd you go?" He's trying to look around. He's like, "Darn, wish I could turn my neck." We come back to the twins who've gone back inside the saloon, and they unscrew a screw, and they look down into it. It's like, "Hey, Zeus, what are you doing? Are you right? Come on, let's do this. Just flip the switch." And Zeus is just staring at us like, "Guys, I was going to do that, but I've been kind of thinking, according to this, if I hit the button, it erases the high scores permanently. And the high score is one of my big accomplishments in life." And Dipper's like, "What are you doing if you don't hurt? We could all die in here." He's like, "Fair point. But what is life when compared to the immortality of a high score?" He's like, "Zeus, are you out of your..." And that's when the saloon falls over, and the cowboy's like, "There you are. Get ready to meet your maker." "My maker is Ballway Games, Redmond, Washington." But the cowboy starts sucking in everything. and Dipper's hat flies off his head, flies into the cowboy's mouth, and is instantly, I guess, disintegrated. The twins are screaming for Zeus to like turn off the game, and Zeus is like, I don't. And as they're about to fly into the cowboy's mouth, he does make the right choice and turns the game off, which does erase the high scores, and manages to send them back into their bodies, which have just been unconscious outside of the pinball game. Zeus is like, oh, you guys okay, dudes? And they're like, Zeus, you did it, you freed us. And they're like, sorry about your high score. He's like, that's okay, I got a new life accomplishment now, saving you dudes. They're like, yeah. He's like, you think that pinball winch will call me? Zeus is very lonely. And we cut back to the bottomless pit as they're falling, and Carlos says, like, I can't believe this nonsense. Magic tonics, Zeus winning at something. Where do you guys come up with this stuff? I'll tell you a good story. It's like, it's called Gurgle Stan wins the football bowl. We cut to a football stadium where Stan has made a touchdown. He's doing a dance. And that's when all the other football players walk up to him, scowling, like, Mr. Pines, I thought old fools were useless, but you taught me and my gloating friends a lesson. They all start clapping for him. And then a big trophy gets wheeled out, and there's a lady in a bathing suit. She's like, here's your football winning trophy, Mr. Pines. And Stan's like, thanks, beautiful woman, but I couldn't have done it without my sidekick, Footbot. And it's just a badly made robot that's a head, a torso, and a couple of legs. And it's like, thank you for building me, Daddy. It's weird. And then everybody's laughing as like red, white, and blue skywriting comes out of nowhere. And the robot's like, I love you, Stan. We come out of the falling hall and everyone's like, boo, that sucks. I'm incredulous. That was ridiculous and really dumb. And Stan's like, what? That story was great. And I even threw in a talking robot for the kids.
I honestly want worse Dan's football story.
But Mabel's like, yeah, I'm going to tell a non-terrible story. It's called Truthache. We get a title card of some letters drawn like teeth and nerves. It's pretty neat. You might actually see this, you'd see artwork like this painted on the side of somebody's van.
Sure.
Or a railway car. Anyway, it's pretty good. We cut to the twins and Stan leaning up against his car, and he's like, this attraction's going to make me a fortune. Easy with the bear, corduroy. I need it for the showroom conditions. We cut to Manly Dan wrestling with a bear, and it's a vicious bear. And Dipper's like, what are you going to do? Well, first Mabel's like, oh, they're hugging. But Dipper's like, so let me get this straight. What are you going to do? You're going to, like, teach this bear to, like, ride a bicycle? And Girl sounds like, nah, come on. Everybody's seen a bicycle riding bear. No, I want to teach this bear to drive. We then cut to the car swerving every which way. And then the bear in the driver's seat is like, and then the yellow light, that means speed up. And that's when the cops pull them over. The bear actually does pull over. They roll down the window on Stan's side and says, like, what seems to be the problem, officers? And the sheriff's like, you had better have a darn good explanation for this. And Stan's like, oh, there is. You see, I'm a very old man, not long for this earth. And the doctor assigned me as the nightmare in case I need to drive to the hospital for emergency. And the sheriff's like, oh, right, where's your doctor's note? He's like, why, it's right here inside my jacket. We watch Stan pull out a pencil and start writing something inside of his jacket. But he pulls out a piece of paper and he hands it to the cops. And it just reads, Stan is sick and needs a bear. Dr. Medicine. Which the cop says, well, can't argue with Dr. Medicine. He's like, to the hospital, honey pants. And the bear drives off. We then cut to the mystery shack. The bear is rooting through the garbage as Stan is spray painting rocks with gold spray paint. Mabel's like, hey, I don't feel comfortable about what you did. You lied to those cops, and don't you know that lying is always wrong? And Stan's like, Mabel, at my age, you get to understand that you gotta, sometimes not tell the truth, for the greater good. And that's when Dipper walks in to Stan, who's now eating a plate of spaghetti. But Dipper's like, hey, have any of y'all seen my plate of spaghetti? Stan hides it behind his back and says, no, but I bet Zeus has. You know how he likes to eat. Dipper's like, this is a dark day. Thanks, Stan. And he runs away. Mabel's like, what? And Colonel Stan rubs his stomach. He's like, the greater good. We cut to Mabel inside her room with Waddles. She's balancing Waddles on her feet. She's like, what am I gonna do, Waddles? This isn't cool. What? Like, he's always lying. And she pinches Waddles' cheek to make it look like he's talking. And she's like, he needs to stop lying. Like, that's like the voice she gives Waddles. And Mabel's like, I know, but how do I stop him? And talking to herself, she's like, maybe you should check Dipper's journal, oink, oink. And she's like, haha, say oink one more time. Oink, oink. But she's like, wow, you're a genius. She goes to Dipper's journal, and she's like, buried beneath a tree in the deep forest, there are truth teeth, which one will force the wearer the inability to lie. We then cut to Mabel at night, sneaking into Stan's room, who has a book on his chest that just reads, The Plot Twist. She removes his actual dentures and then inserts into his mouth glowing golden teeth. She wakes Grunkle Stan up and she's like, oh, what's going on? Mabel? And she's like, quick question. What happened to Dipper's plate of spaghetti? And he's like, I ate it because I have no to little concern of other people's possessions or emotions. Yeah. That was strangely candid. Oh, well. Good night. It's pretty good. But Mabel we cut to the next morning, and Mabel's whispering in Dipper's ear, and Dipper's like, what? That seems like a horrible idea. She's like, no, it's great. Now he has to tell the truth. Dipper's like, Stan walks to the table with the pan. He's like, scrambled meat. Here it is. And Dipper's like, hey, Stan, what do you do in secret every day during your lunch break? And Stan's like, usually I spend the hour aggressively scratching myself in places I shouldn't mention. I'm going to avoid making eye contact now by reading this newspaper and then go to the bathroom without washing my hands. And they're like, oh, ew. And Dipper's like, that was disturbing. But Mill's like, don't worry. The truth is a good thing. Always. We then cut to a sort of montage, more or less, of Stan aggressively telling the truth. We cut to the shop of the Mystery Shack, and there's a man going, excuse me, do you think this t-shirt is in my size? And Stan says, never mind the t-shirt. Hey, everybody, look at this guy's abnormal, unattractive face. And the guy's like, oh, this sucks. Mabel walks by and is like, oh, I'm so sorry. We then cut to Stan in his office. He's like, I'm doing my taxes. Dipper picks up a page that says, just reads, I have committed tax fraud. It's really good. He's like, Grunkle Stan, what is this? He's like, oh, it's because I regularly commit massive tax fraud. And Dipper's like, let's just tuck this away somewhere. And he throws it in the shredder. We cut to them all watching TV. There's a man juggling on a unicycle surrounded by alligators. And the twins are just having a really great time laughing at the show. To which Grunkle Stan says, sometimes I think, is this all there is? Is life just some kind of horrific joke without a punchline? Are we all just biding our time until the sweet, sweet release of death? And the twins like, oh, they get real bummed out. Mabel's just rocking herself back and forth while Dipper cries. We cut to the next day, and Stan's eating a bowl of Cheetos or something. He's like, hey, kids, I think I have a growth forming on my back. Like, as the twins are trying to cover their ears up in their room. And Dipper's like, I can't take this anymore, Mabel. We have got to get those teeth out of his mouth. And Mabel's like, but then he'd be a liar again. And he's like, could this possibly be worse than that? Honestly. The cops do show up at the Mystery Shack. They hear the doorbell. They go down. Cops are there. And Sheriff Blubbs is like, it turns out there is no Dr. Medicine in Gravity Falls. So what is your excuse for having that bear? It better be a darn good explanation. And Grunkle says, oh yes, I definitely have a good explanation. You see, I lied to you. In addition, I've been parking in handicapped spaces, shoplifting fireworks, smuggling endangered animals across multiple state lines, and also your fan. Sheriff Blubs just drops his coffee and pulls out some handcuffs. He's like, "Is this all true?" And Dipper's like, "No, it's not true. Right, Mabel?" And Mabel's like, "I have to be completely and totally honest with you. Our great Uncle Stan is she's like getting all sweaty. Stan's putting up his hands ready to be arrested while Sheriff Blubs is pulling back with his baton to beat Stan. But Mabel's like, Stan is secretly a crime fiction writer. Whew. Like, what? It's like, yeah. He was just telling you about a character that he's been writing in his upcoming page turner, Crime Grandpa. He's never committed a crime in his life. Also, have you lost weight? And like, oh, finally someone's noticed. And the Deputy Derlin is like, wow, an author. Can you teach me to read? Stan's like, what? An author? It's like, haha. Mabel's pushing the eyes like, haha, writers of fiction. She just collapses next to the door, and Deborah's like, hey, are you okay? She's like, I can't believe I just lied. And he's like, hey, it was for the greater good.
And that's how Mabel learned the importance of lying to the police.
Yep. She's like, yeah, the greater good. But we cut right over to Stan, who's on the phone. She's like, hello, police station? Yeah, I forgot to tell them about my tax fraud. No, tax fraud. The twins tackle him. And they're like, get the teeth out of him. Get him out. And Mabel's like, we gotta find a place to get rid of them. And then we cut back to the opening of the show where Mabel has pushed a box over the edge of the bottomless pit. And the story ends with her saying, and I never saw that box of magical teeth again. Oh, wait, there it is. It's falling next to them. Everybody groans. Of course, Zeus's shoes are also there. He's like, oh, my shoes. And he puts them back on. Stan's like, I like that one. Especially the part with the bear. The rest seems pretty far-fetched, though. And Dipper's like, Mabel, you don't need to tell us that story. We just lived that. And Zeus is like, well, if we're living that story right now, what's going to happen at the end? And Dipper's like, oh my gosh, guys, do you see that? And there's a bright light. And everyone's like, oh no, what's going to happen? What's going to go? It doesn't look good. And they start screaming again. And that's when they pop out of the top of the bottomless pit. And everyone's like, oh, where are we? Like, and it was like, oh my god, look, it's Mystery Shack. Which means we came right back out the top. They turn back to look at the hole. There was like, I don't think any time has passed either. This must be some kind of wormhole. They're like, yeah, that sounds science. Zeus is like, yeah, that sounds science saying that to be true. And Stan's like, but that's impossible. No one will believe us. And Mabel's like, yeah, maybe this is a story we should just keep to ourselves. And they're like, agreed. Stan's leaning on the bottomless pit sign, which breaks, and he falls right back into the bottomless pit. And they're like, he'll be fine. And our ending credit sequence is just Stan falling in the hole, and at the end saying, this is stupid. Which I don't think we're going to play, because it's just like a minute of that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is what that is. So all in all, it is a short episode, but it's not a bad episode.
I do like vignette type episodes of shows in general, and this one is pretty good. Because, like, again, I've said this before, but like an average episode of Gravity Falls is still better than most things.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that statement. I kind of take over one of your jobs by mentioning that John DiMaggio did a voice here, but there are other additional voices.
Yeah, John DiMaggio did voice the pinball machine, but Dipper's man voice, I mean the one specifically from this episode, not his usual man voice for a 12-year-old, was done by A. Smith Harrison, who has done a lot of minor roles, a lot of bit parts, nothing super notable, and the voice that Stan gets temporarily is Greta Lyle.
Yeah.
Greta Lyle, friend of the show.
We wish. She's done a lot of things. If you don't recognize the name Greta Lyle, then you don't know voice acting like at all, basically. That's it.
We should probably mention her most famous role, which would be Princess Azula.
I mean, is that her most famous role? She also was Daphne in Scooby Doo. She's been Daphne for like the last at least 10 years.
That's true. Scooby Doo is kind of background radiation. As much as I like some iterations of it, it's kind of just background radiation as far as media. It's just kind of there.
She's also Frankie in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. She's Vicky, Tootie, and Veronica in The Fairly Odd Parents.
Sure.
She's also Mandy in The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Like, it's hard to say what her most famous role is.
She was Mandy? I thought that was Pronounced. I thought it was Tara Strong.
Let's take a look.
Hey, no, that's not. That's
Nope, it is Grey Delisle.
There you go.
Yep.
It's easy to. It's a little easy. I'm pretty good at separating voice actors, but Grey Delisle, Tara Strong, and Michelle Phan tend to do very similar roles and have similar do similar voices.
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, voice acting is cool. I remember being like 10 and starting to pick out voice actors in common between projects.
I've always wanted to be a voice actor.
Don't we all?
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it this week.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any like other trivia.
Not really. I tried to I checked the other high scores on the pinball machine.
Yeah, there's
None of them is a specific reference to anything.
there's some continuity stuff like in voiceover, Dibber is changing the $200 price sign that was put up in the Mystery Shack from Boss Mabel. Oh no, the $200 price sign is still up from Boss Mabel. That's still intact.
Yep.
Stan has a new fez because his other one was eaten. Yeah, I got nothing.
All right. I guess that's it for us.
Oh, the cryptogram this week. Once decoded reads. Next up, Football 2, Grunkle's Revenge. Pretty good. And is the first to use the A1Z26 cipher. But yeah, that's it. Okay. So hey, Doc, where can people find you online if they want to talk to you about stuff?
I'm on Twitter way too much. I am at Dr. C Monster. That is at DRC Monster. Come and see me on Twitter where I post pictures of things that I've cooked and then humble brag.
You can find me, as always, on Twitter at DatFirePrincess, spelled D-A-T. You can find me on the multiple podcasts I do. This one and my Trigger one is the ones that update the most often. That's just, it's how life in the apocalypse goes. Other than that, yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter a lot. Complaining about things. Lately, I've just been complaining about freaking pizza. Like, I gotta say, not to we're trying to end the show here, but when you order double mushrooms from a place, that pizza should be fucked up with mushrooms, and I don't think that I'm out of line for saying that. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's everything. So, until next time, everybody, remember,
reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Bye, gold. Bye.
Bye.